Oh, no, I shouldn't have had her say that. Is this right? Can everyone hear me at this volume, though? Everyone, as if I have an audience right now. It's just me, and I'm never about to sleep. Sound. um, I feel like this segment should be called something. It's too weird. It's this needs to go up. All of the skills and all of the tools. And none of the false. How about that? Oh, it's good. All right. I just wanted you to be able to see the star box because it's cute. How cute. Is this when I start my ASMR channel? Hello, hello. Okay. Stop messing around. I'm tempted to have my tiny mic out. Okay, focus. I think we're gonna call this like nighttime stories. Why am I trying to name it before I even know what it's gonna be? Mm, not Midnight Memories. That's One Direction. It's like Midnight Memories of the Stars. Um, Constellations, Cosmos. Sleepy Time with the Stars. We'll go with that. And then the caption is the Sleepy Time tea bear and me being like with clickbait. All right, sleepy time with the stars. Okay, I want to tell you Chiron's mythology. I channeled it today for a tree. Okay, sounds good. Um, some of it I know by heart. I almost said by hand. Some of it I know by heart, and some of it was like being exposed to me. So, story of Chiron, as told by Biddy, who has Chiron on their ascendant in Libra. Ready? Ready for me to be a mirror for you? Okay, great. I'm glad you're here. So, I feel like I need something to hold. I need a rock. I'm the channel. Okay, sorry. I'm not sorry. All right. So, once upon a time, there was a pregnant and scared creature. She gives birth to Chiron, the centaur. He's half man and half god, and he is half man and half horse. And he's a little baby. And upon his birth, his mom abandons him, rejects him. Now, depending on the origins of where you hear this from, his mom had her own difficult life. So, through maybe fault of her own, probably just being human, going through her own trauma, this being Chiron is not able to be loved or cared for by his parent. Where's the dad in the story? That's the headline. That's the headline. Where's the dad in the story? Um, it's always on the moms. It's fine. It's fine. So through no fault of his own, is abandoned and has that wound. So he grows up around the other centaurs, is taken in by his community, They look out for him. Um, he grows up with this, you know, orphan abandonment wound, kind of chip on his shoulder, tenderness in his heart, has that emotional burden of being left behind. He hangs out and spends time in community with the other centaurs who take them in. Um, Centaurs are known stereotyped. It's not even centaurs are a monolith. Um, Not even mythical creatures are a monolith. There's cultural stuff for sure. That's true of any cultural group. Um, and the stereotypes are just creating monoliths where there don't need to be any. But anyway, not monoliths even with centaurs. Um, so the centaur stereotypes, the centaur culture is about embracing being a man and embracing being horse, being beast, being, having the mental and then also having the embodied somatic physical experience of trusting your instincts and being an animal. So there's a lot of ways that the archetype of a centaur is used to talk about like wildness and traveling all around and migrating and um, indulging and partying and stomping stuff and having stampedes and herds and all of these horse like things. Then also being able to talk and communicate with language and it's like it's not any communication with language, it's just different language. Anyway, we let it go. We let it go. Spends time with these centaurs. And while a lot of the centaurs are off playing and doing normal centaur things, exploring the woods, hanging out, roughhousing, having a silly time, um, probably ignoring bedtime. Um, while that's all happening, Chiron is trying to fit in. Chiron has that abandonment wound, feels like something's wrong with him, feels like, um, the other centaurs have their parents. Um, why don't I have mine here? There must be something wrong with me. The weight of the weight of our parents not having the proper care book for us as kids, because we embody what we can, we experience what we can, and they do their best. Is this ASMR working for anyone else yet? Okay, here we go. Sleepy time with the stars. So, Chiron is growing up around these centaurs, is feeling like an outcast, and while the other centaurs roughhouse, he likes to read books. Um, while they stay up all night dancing, and singing in the woods, and indulging on all sorts of woodland hallucinogenics and drinks and play. He's doing his studious thing. And so for a while, you're like, is Chiron a manic pixie dream girl? Like, is he like, I'm not like other centaurs? What's his deal? No, he's just trying the best that he can. So over time, he has a respected spot in the community. He kind of carves out a little niche for himself, and he is able to be well balanced and give other centaurs wise counsel, and some of the pain and things that he's been through and experienced have softened him to other people's experiences with pain and their reality. So lets all the people come in, come sit, have a cup of tea, come hang out. Um, that's how I imagine it. Like he's a little grandma at a table, little gingham table, and there's like watermelon placemats and like everything is cute and kitschy. So Chiron's kitschy table. People come and talk to him, get his advice. He's read so many books. They get his scholarly, mental, and lived experience from him. So he offers that insight, has a spot carved out for him um, in his community. And so, he belongs. Feels like an odd duck sometimes, but he belongs and makes a spot for himself there. Over time, as he grows up with his community, with his special position as I know stuff and I will help people with that, um, he begins to take that wisdom and knowledge and battle strategy and becomes this great teacher, taking on these heroes and teaching them um, how to survive. He knows these young heroes are going to go through some hard stuff. So, based on the hard stuff he's been through, he tries the best he can to prepare them. So, he's preparing them the only way he knows how, which is having them study these historical battles and having them look at books and maps and all of the knowledge in his books that he's collected. He has them, practice the same thing a million times because he wants it to not just be something that they read, but something that they can do. Um, quizzing his students on um, all sorts of things, like a football coach. Like, I say this, you jump and you do this thing. Training them, training them, training them. Trying to teach them history of, like, what is this called? This battle formation, what is that called? What would that take? What's better if there's this situation? Is like playing mental chess, mental and physical and emotional chess with all of these young heroes, because he knows that what it's going to take for them to survive all of the battles and all of the monsters and all of the trials and tribulations that they've had or haven't yet experienced, he knows there's going to be a lot. So he prepares them the best he can. And in this process of preparing for various battles, he shoots himself or gets shot in the leg with a poison tipped arrow. And he is half god and half man, and half horse. And he's experiencing this incredible pain that he's never known before. And he knows pain. Remember, he was abandoned as a child. He knows pain. But he's experiencing this incredible visceral pain. And he, spends time first just can't think of anything else but the pain. Um, he's getting his wounds treated pulls the arrow out, getting these wounds treated in his community with the healers that they have. Sorry. He's getting wounds treated in his community with the healers that he has. And they are, staunching the blood, trying to pull the poison out with the methods they know how, putting poultice on there, wrapping it, leaving it, changing the dressings, wrapping it, leaving it, changing the dressings, feeding him nectar, feeding him water, feeding him food, trying to see what will stop the bleeding, what will stop the pain. He's just, I don't need to describe more visceral pain. He's in pain. And, for the first few days of it, he's just blinded by the pain. The next few days and weeks following that, he tries to use mobility aids to get around. He tries to do things at the same capacity that he was doing them before. He just can't. Um, with his chronic pain and his wounding and his developing disability, he realizes that he has less ability to do what he used to do. He used to be able to, you know, train all these heroes all day long and do this and do that and serve the community in this way and that way. And it is not the case anymore that he can perform at that level, do things to that degree with that much on his plate. He just can't. And the more he tries to ignore the pain, the more he snaps at the young heroes and young centaurs around him who he's trying to train. The more bitter he gets, the more short-tempered he is. He can't ignore his own pain any longer. For a while, it's all he can think about is the pain, and then tries to go all the way to the other side and ignore the pain and keep going at the pace that he used to be able to go to, and he just can't. So, the village healers are trying what they can do. He's poring over the books that he has, the books that the village has, the books that are, you know, in his surrounding vicinity, going to other healers in his community, finding out everything that he can find out, trying his best to get information. Does anyone know anything about this? Um, the village healers sent him on to, you know, healers that they recommend. So he goes to the healers and they try to treat the wound. They're like, "Oh, this is the worst I've seen of this kind." Or I don't have direct experience with this kind of wound, but this other thing that's kind of like that, I'll try to help you treat it with this. So they try to help him treat it. Um, they're treating it the best that they can with what they've seen, what they've experienced, but it's not getting at the root. It's not getting the poison out. It's not allowing the tissues to heal. So the godly part of him is able to carry on, the divine part is able to carry on, but the man part, human part, the mortal part is just suffering. So the first healer does the best that they can. And you're like, I know someone not too far away. Why don't you give them a call? They know me. I trust them. Maybe they'll know a little bit more. So he goes to the next healer. Same thing. This healer, she lets him know, you know, this is the worst I've ever seen of this type, of anything like it. Tries to treat it in the way that she knows how, is teaching him her methods. Um, we use this kind of root, we boil it for this long, we distill it into this kind of tincture, and we apply it like this at this duration. So he tries that. He cuts all the roots with her, goes and picks them and goes through the process, learns more skills. They're still not able to heal this wound. She sends him on to the next healer. The next healer, he says, "Oh, this is the worst I've seen of this type. Um, I've had these experiences with battle and these experiences with life, and I've seen all sorts of gnarly things in my day. I haven't seen something like this." But are treating him the best that they can, um, with the knowledge that he has of his experience and his travels. You're seeing me tell myself a bedtime story and get tired by it. So, best of those travels. That's not what I mean. So, he learns a little bit more, is able to prepare other types of medicines in working with this healer. Sends him on, I know someone just down the way. And he keeps doing this, eventually stopping or starting with his village and going, further and out and further out and further out. Um, Eventually leaving the continent that he's from, going a bit further, further, a bit further. Same thing each time, I've only seen this. I can help you with this. Maybe this will work. I've exhausted my possibilities here. I'll pass you along to the next healer, passing him along to the next healer, and so on as he's traversing the globe, getting lived experience, learned experience with all these different types of modalities, all of these different types of plants and healers and um, cures and mystics of all kinds, all of these ways of healing with herbs, with moonlight, with ritual, with medicine, with acupuncture, with all of these different, I'm really comparing apples to oranges here, but all of these different ways of treating the body. And then he gets recommended another healer, Charleclo, who's another centaur. And this time is different. He goes in, and before he goes in to see her and sees her in her garden, tending to her herbs, caring for nature. Life is just kind of humming around her. Um, Again, you think I'm just talking about two manic pixie dream girls? No, no. He sees her in her garden doing her thing. And when she sees him approaching, she asks him to sit down. There's a little spot on a bench for him to sit, rest his feet. Um, Before he even tells her his name, she brings him, some cool water, some shade for the hot day, and introduces herself as Charleclos, another centaur. Um, and they exchange tales, and she's unlike the other healers that he's worked with. Each of them were able to address a component of his pain, piece of it. And when he sits down with Charleclos, he feels like she's listening to him, she's hearing him. Um, they're not just talking about the physical symptoms, the amount of poison, the angle of the barb. They're not just talking about how it feels in the muscle or the blood or how his gait has changed since he, got shot, or what corrective things they could do to take the pressure off. Um, you can tell that she's treating him as the whole. And so they start with childhood and they talk about childhood. Um, they talk about living with a disability. They talk about chronic pain. They talk about feeling like an outcast as a kid. They talk about abandonment. They talk about complicated families. They talk about community. They talk about it all, and just sort of lose time together in each other's company. Um, he doesn't feel like he's being treated as a patient at all. He um, feels like his heart and his mind and his spirit are connecting with this person as well as his body, and feels the acceptance, um, the beauty of being witnessed and being seen, and of someone saying, I understand. I've been through something. It's not the exact same thing, but I've been through something, and here's what's worked for me. Here's what's really soothed me. Um, Here's what got me to the next step that I see that you're struggling with. And in his witnessing of her, or sorry, her witnessing of him, there was also him witnessing her back. And the more time that they spent together over the coming days, of her showing him how to make a certain kind of poultice, showing him how to make, the specific salt bath blend to ease the muscle aches and the tension and to seep some of the pain out. And at the same time, they're breathing together and out in nature, connecting and tending to the garden, and um, hanging out with all of the neighbors. And the longer they spend together, the more deeply they grow to care for each other and love each other. And pretty soon, feelings are mutual, of Charleclos feeling seen by Chiron and Chiron feeling seen by Charleclos. And although the pain doesn't ease in his physical body, the spiritual and emotional and nervous system level pain does start to slow down. Gets a little bit quieter. The physical pain depends on the day and depends on the weather and depends on so many factors. But the burden on his heart, that abandonment, begins to ease. And same for Charleclos. Their mutual witnessing of each other really lightens the load, allows them to set down all the stories of who they thought they were and what they thought was important, and um, all the recipes for how to not be abandoned that are made up as children, that are, you know, based on our best understanding of reality, and then twisted and shifted and looked at from different angles over time. And the longer they're together, the more compassion Chiron is able to have for his mom and his dad and the caretakers along the way. The more he is able to see that his mom was doing the best that she could, and that her best hurt him, abandoned him, but it was no fault of his own, nothing he could have done to prevent it. and nothing about him is worthy of being abandoned. Just a mom who couldn't, probably not to a fault of her own, show up for him. Wasn't because he wasn't lovable, but because of her own trauma, of her own challenges and the trials and tribulations of life. The deeper and more time he spends with Charleclos, the more it all feels worth it. That his experiences of feeling like an outcast and feeling abandoned, his pain, him being faced with his humanity all the time, and really just being humbled by life and by pain and by experience, allows him to know that without all of those challenges, he wouldn't be who he was. He wouldn't be able to witness Charleclos for who she is and what she's been through. And both of them choosing softness over and over again, choosing vulnerability, choosing connection, choosing to care, um, choosing to offer a helping hand. Um, each time they do that, a little part of younger versions of them heals and feels seen and feels safe to express themselves. And in a roundabout way, they become grateful for all of the hard stuff because it lets them see and know each other more deeply and themselves more deeply. And if it weren't for all of those experiences, they're not sure who they would be or if they would fit or if they could help each other. So their story carries on. Like all relationships, there's some bumpy times and some challenges and some, I'm going to project my parent on you and you're going to project your parent on me and on everyone around us, and it's all us being mirrors for each other of our own experience. And eventually, after many many moons together, they, you know, open up a school of healing and herbalism, and they combine all of their knowledge and all of their skills and all of their love, and they raise the next generation of healers. They have some kids themselves. um, whether they're biological or not doesn't matter. They have this community, the next generation that they're caring for, and they're all spending time in the garden together, learning about the plants. They're spending time by the water, learning about those spirits. They're spending time around the fire, being together. They're spending time up in the high peaks, feeling all of the air and seeing everything swirl together and be excited. They're able to find wholeness together, and their school attracts and community attracts many different people, and the nourishment of growing minds and growing ideas comes together, life experience and wisdom. And in this process, Chiron sees his students, sees his children, sees the next generation become capable, and he feels deep, deep satisfaction of knowing that exactly who he is a piece in making all that he created. That without those parts of him, he wouldn't be him. This wouldn't be possible. The healing and the growing and the loving wouldn't be possible, not without what he's lived through. So, as he's seeing great satisfaction in training the next generation and maybe even the generation after that, he feels satisfied, feels complete, feels whole, has shared the love, not only a partner, but of a community, of the land, the sea, of the sky, of the flame, and decides that, you know, he's having more bad days than good days with his chronic pain and his disability, and that his life as he knows it, as he wants it to, was kind of coming to a close. So he sends a missive to Mount Olympus to ask Zeus for time in his council, just a moment of his time. He wants to be done in this form, in this way, in this pain. So Zeus takes a meeting with him because, of course, he's heard about Chiron and Charleclos and the community and school and presence that they have together. And Apollo has told him all about Chiron and Charleclos. And Zeus offers him a position in his court to be this healer, having traveled the world, learning from others, learning from his own experiences, learning from his students and his wife, wants to offer him a position of stick around a while, come be our healer. I know Apollo raves about you. Clearly, you've done some good work. We could use a mind like yours with what we're up to. We could use your skills. And Chiron is honored, considers it, and lets Zeus know that in the form that he's in now, he can't sustain what he's been up to. He's tired. He's had a good run. He, you know, doesn't feel like he can do this forever. Not in this current form, not with the limitations of the mortality of it all. So Zeus agrees that his service was a great service to humanity, to the centaurs, to everyone around him, and grants him his wish to be out of pain. And he is. He does some ceremony, some ritual, calls some help from other gods, and is able to transform Chiron's pain for him. And he's immortalized as the constellation Sagittarius. It's this archer who points and strikes true, of this healer and educator and learner and experiencer and student of life. And if you take away the wounding of Chiron, you get Sagittarius, a sign that loves to explore outward, to go in, to see all of the ways that we're the same, to better understand self and unlock parts that only other people can unlock by being mirrors for us, by being teachers for us. Goes through this process of going out to go in. And first it's with books and with people and what we have exposure to, and later on it's by traveling and meeting people from far away and experiencing what life is like for them. So I don't even know that there are takeaways. I think his story kind of speaks for itself. I'm sure I took some liberties with it, but that's how it came through for me. And yeah, I think know that all that you've been through is not the end of your story, and using pain as the start point of your story can only get us so far. It's important to consider. It's probably the first step to moving beyond it. But first we have to go through it. There's no way out but through. And something that I like about Chiron's story is that he asked for help. He didn't suffer in silence. He asked for help. He let his wounding, both mental and physical and emotional and spiritual, be witnessed, be received. It takes a lot of bravery to be vulnerable like that. A lot of bravery. So let's listen to Chiron's example, and be brave and be vulnerable, and speak and move from the heart the best that we can, and know that we are far more than the stories we tell ourselves about ourselves, more than the stories that others tell about ourselves. And know that everything that we've been through and everything that we've seen and experienced is fodder for healing, is fodder for connection and understanding. Like, keep being like the mycelium and reaching out to make connections. Keep reaching out. You don't know who is going to need to hear your story, your wisdom, or your experience. You're not going to know who needs your vulnerability or what kind of seeds that's planting in others. You won't know. Maybe someday you'll get a call and a thank you, but you'll never know. Not for sure. You have to trust that who you are and what you have to offer is exactly what is needed and is putting you at the right spot at the right time. And trust that whatever you think it is about you that is worth being abandoned is just a mirror for someone else. It's a mirror to society as a whole. It's like almost like a health indicator of how we're doing. So know that our wounds are like my brain was going to say it, the wounds are the dipstick in the uh engine of life. That metaphor doesn't really hold. I mean, they are the indicator. Our body is the ultimate tool. So we have to listen to it. I hope you're listening to your body and listening to the voice within you that is tugging on your shirt sleeve, trying to get your attention with the insistence of a child, but not with anxiety thoughts, just insistent over and over that we're worthy of love, worthy of care, and that we're enough. That's the voice that knows what's up. That's the voice that dressed you when you were a little kid, put you in whatever freaky little outfit made your heart happy. That's the part of you that you want to listen to, the part that knows who they are without anyone having to tell them. And that kind of power can't be taken away. It can be invited out of people. Challenge you to do that. Make your weird little videos in your jammies at night when everyone's asleep and no one can text you and bother you. All right. Sweet dreams.